Bookish Babes, and welcome to my book nook. For those that are new around here, the name's Rainy. I teach music and I read lots of books, anywhere from fantasy romance to thriller and horror and all in between. So if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe down to my channel below. It really helps my channel grow. In today's video, we are talking about all of the books that I read in in June for my June wrap up. And I know last month I did a wrap up vlog and I loved doing that. I was not consistent with it this month, and I still have not found the type of wrap-up style that really works well for me, so we're just gonna do the typical one for now, where I give you my stats, I talk about my books from least favorite to favorite, and we go from there. And I have a lot of good books to share with you this month. So with that being said, let's drop into the stats. Let me pull up my stats on my phone so that I know what I'm saying and I don't waste anybody's time. I will always have this timestamp as always, so you can just skip past this if this is something that is not interesting to you. All right, in June, I read 15 books and I had one DNF. For pages read, I read 3,986. I listened for 25.75 hours, and my average rating was 4.13, which is pretty good. Not as high as last month, but still very high. I acquired 47 books this month. Yeah, I know. I went way overboard. This is going to be the biggest book haul that I've ever had because I normally share one at the end of every quarter, which is right now. However, my birthday is next week, so I didn't want to post like a haul and then another haul. So you're going to get like all of quarter 2 and my birthday, and I swear there's going to be like 150 books and it's going to be insane. It's gonna be insane. I started 7 series, so I will talk more about series in just a second. And then for diverse reads, I read from 3 authors, either of like BIPOC or LGBTQ or something to that effect. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. As far as source goes, I read 7, a mixture of audio and physical. We know that's still always my favorite. I read 2 physically, and I had 7 ebooks this time. I really was like getting into my Kindle era. I can feel that the KU books are just speaking to me as of late. But for the format, I read 14 novels and 2 novellas. For audience, I read 12 adult books, 1 new adult book, and 3 YA, so I was getting a little more in my YA bag this time. As far as ratings go, I had 2 2-stars, 1 3.5 star, 5 4 stars, 1 4.5 stars, and 6 5 stars, and then 1 not rated because that was the DNF. So 5 stars is still above and beyond. Maybe I critique not enough for a 5-star, but it is what it is. These were books that I had a fabulous time with. And then for genres, I read 8 fantasy, 1 horror, 5 romance, and 2 thrillers. So fantasy and romance are taking over my life. I used to be a thriller and horror girly. Like, this is blowing my mind a little bit, this stat alone. Oh well, I'm totally here for it. For author stats, I had 1 that I read from before, Hannah Bird. She wrote The End and Then and What's Left of Me. I had 7 new to me, Ashley Michelle, Michelle Mills, Pam Godwin, Karina Halley, Eliza Rain, Elsie Silver, and Shinora Williams. And then I had 6 that I read their debut book. ML Rio, Trisha Levenseller, Jade Song, Jessie Q. Satanto, and Stephanie Garber. Well, 5. I read 2 of Stephanie Garber's though. As far as series go, I finished the Loveless series of the duology by Hannah Bird. It's fabulous, beautiful, you should read it. I started Daughter of the Pirate King. I read the first book. I started Sweet Monster Treats. I literally just read that to be on a sprint with my friends, and I will not be continuing that. I started The Shadow Queen, which is the first 3 books in of the Court of Ravens and Ruins by Eliza Rain. I'm caught up currently. The 4th book comes out in September. I cannot wait for that. I started Chestnut Springs by Elsie Silver. Finally, read flawless, had a fabulous time with it. I started the Aunties trilogy by Jessie Q. Satanto. I will not be continuing. I didn't really care for that book. And then I started and finished Caraval, but I finished it in July, technically July 1st. The years that I read from were 6 were from 2023, 2 were from 2022, 3 were from 2021, 1 was from 2020, 2 were from 2017, and 2 were from 2016. So I'm still trying to prioritize newer releases compared to backlists. As far as where my books came from, 1 was borrowed, 1 was gifted, 6 were from KU, 5 were from the library, and 3 were owned. Look at me getting stuff from other places. Look at me go. And then for color covers, there were 6 black, 2 blue, 1 green, 1 pink, 1 purple, 1 red, 1 white, 2 yellow, 1 other. For my diversity authors, I read from Shinora Williams, The Perfect Ruin. I DNF'd Jade Song's Chlorine. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then Jessie Q. Satanto's book, Dial A For Aunties. So I read not as many diverse things as I had wanted, especially because June was LGBTQ Pride Month, but it is what it is. I'll do better. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I just read the books that speak to me, and then I don't even realize like which authors write which. I should look at that a lot more in depth. Okay, but with that being said, let's dive into least favorite to favorite. So my least favorite has to have been Chlorine by Jade Song, and that was because I DNF'd it. I read it for once upon a readathon, which I was on Team Mermaid, so a couple of these are going to be mermaid and pirate related books. And it was about this girl that like loves to swim, but like also like thinks she's a mermaid. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like this book was kind of going above my head. I got to about 34% in, and I just DNF'd because I was bored. I didn't care what was going on. I didn't understand. I felt myself zoning in and out during the audiobook. And I'm really sad because like I wanted to love it and I just could not get behind it. It just was not for me. But I can recognize that it probably is a good book. It's just not for me. The next two books that I read were both short novellas that I read literally because my friends from Bestie's Book Club and Crystal said, let's read these terrible novellas. So I'm going to lump them together because they both got 2 stars for me. And that is Cookies for My Orc Neighbor and Hush Little Baby. And so Cookies for My Orc Neighbor is about this girl that basically has no friends and lives next door to an orc, and like orcs aren't allowed to like even really talk to like humans because they'll end up having to like plant their seed in them literally and make babies with them. Like I'm telling you, it's that insane. And of course she ends up wanting a romance with this orc guy and ends up being with him, and it's very insta-lovey, and it's really terrible. Don't read it. Don't read it. Don't read it. It is what it is. We had our fun with it, you know? And then Hush Little Baby is about a girl that has a stranger BDSM kink. Like she wants to have sex with a stranger. And so she pretends her partner is a stranger. And I guess one night it comes over and it's just this one crazy night where the BDSM descriptions are literally like pure cringe. And at the end, as he's leaving, she gets a text from her stranger partner saying, I'm sorry I couldn't make it right now. I got held up. And so you find out that she actually had sex with a stranger, which to me, I'm like, how did that happen? How would you not recognize the person you've been sleeping with? Very sketch to me. Honestly, that should be a 1 star. That was how bad that was. The next book came in at a 3 star. It was just in the middle, not that great, and that was Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Satanto. When I read as part of Brittany Loves Reading Recommends My TBR, which I definitely recommend checking out that video. Any book that was mentioned in a video, I will mention down below and post a video. But this one is about a girl that accidentally kills her blind date on their blind date and ends up having her 4 aunties have to help her cover it up during their wedding. They all work at a wedding planning event together. And it was just not, I don't know, it was just very boring to me. I didn't really care about what was going on. They were very repetitive in what they were doing. I mean, I liked the audiobook. I liked the different aunties in the audiobook. Like, that was good. But I've just learned I'm not a cozy mystery girly, and I have to accept that. And this just did not do it for me. I will not be continuing on with this series. I do plan on putting this on my Pango very soon. Probably by the time this video goes up, it will be on there. So you can check out my Pango down below. But I'm just, I don't know. It just was not for me. But it wasn't for Brittany either, because she DNF'd it as well. Then we can move on to 4-star reads. And one of my 4-star reads that I had for the month was Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. I read this for once upon a readathon. It was super, super cute about this girl that is the daughter of a pirate king that gets kidnapped by, I believe, a pirate hunter or another pirate that's bigger than her that wants her father's treasure. And basically it is their romance, and it is YA. It was very, very cute. I had so much fun with this book. Like, I just found myself just flying through it. It was easy to read, to listen to. I had the best time with it. It wasn't anything that like I'll remember from here on out, but I definitely will read the sequel, which is, I believe, Daughter of the Siren Queen. I'll definitely read that one as well. And I know that there is a new book coming out like this month or next month, like to finish out the trilogy. And so I will definitely be picking it up. It was a really cute read. Then coming in at 4 stars, we have the entire Court of Ravens and Ruin trilogy, but it's going to be a 4th book soon, by Eliza Reign. So I picked this up because Tori from Between Pages, I believe, had this as like their group book for the fantasy romance readathon that they had back in February. And it sounded really interesting. And so I finally picked it up because it was on KU. And then I ended up finding myself binging the other 2 books in the series as well. And the 4th one comes out in September, and I'm very excited. I think it's the last one, but actually no, I think there's going to be 5. So I'm caught up so far. Each one got a 4 stars, so it's a good little fantasy romance series to me. Each book is like 250 pages, so it's a short fantasy romance, which can be good and bad. Because I feel like she did a really good job at like all of the world building, and I didn't feel like stressed out or feel like I didn't know what was going on or understand stuff. But the romance part was not nearly as much. Honestly, it's more a fantasy than it is a romance, because there's not even a really romantic, steamy moment until book 3. Like, book 3, y'all. Like, I was like, give me something. But I still had a really great time with it. It was a very unique magic system. And I just like I said, it's just really easy to read. If you're looking for something short that's on KU, I would definitely recommend it. So it's Court of Ravens and Ruin, Court of Greed and Gold, and Court of Monsters and Malice. And I can't remember what the next one is. It's like Court of Serpents and Snakes or something. But I'm very, very excited for it. It was fun. And I know that this author is attending a Polycon. If you are attending, you should go check her out. My last one coming in at 4 stars was Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is the first book in the Caraval trilogy. I read this specifically because I wanted to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series and read it before the last book comes out in October. And so I'm definitely going to be making that quota by then because I finished the entire Caraval series. However, we're only going to talk about books 1 and 2 in this wrap up because I finished the 3rd one in July. And so that'll be in my July wrap up. This follows 2 sisters, Donatella and Scarlet, and they have a very abusive father. And basically the oldest one, Scarlet, is about to get married off to like this count that she's never met before, that she only writes letters to. And Donatella doesn't want that for her life either. And so she finds this sailor that offers to take her away on a trip, and she decides to go with him. But then there's also this man named Caraval who like does these legendary like magical games. And, like every year Scarlet has wanted to meet him. And so she's been writing to him every year. And finally, the year that she says that like she's getting married, he invites her, gives her 2 free tickets to go to this island to see Caraval. And so this is like 3 days before her wedding. And so her sister, who had just met the sailor, they kidnap Scarlet together to take her to the island so that they can both go because Donatella doesn't want to live there anymore. But Scarlet wants to, you know, like not disobey because she's afraid of her father. And so it's like that story. And it was very interesting. I loved the world of Caraval. I loved the game. It takes 5 days. Like, it's just 5 days and nights. It was really, really fun. I liked the romance in here. So this book focuses on Scarlet. And then the second book that I'm going to talk about in a minute works on Donatella. And so this is from Scarlet's point of view. And I really liked it, but Scarlet was very annoying and very whiny, which is kind of why I got a 4-star, because I just didn't really care for her perspective. Like, it was fine, but I still had a really great time with this, and I'm very glad I finally got to this. Like, I understand why this is a beloved book. And we'll move on to my only 4.5-star, which was Legendary, which is the sequel to Caraval, and this is from Donatella's perspective, which I enjoyed a lot more. I don't know, I just really vibe with Donatella. And so this one, I can't really say what happens in this, but that it basically follows the events of the last Caraval, and it is the next round of the games in Caraval, and this time Donatella is competing. So in the first book, Scarlet was competing. In the second book, Donatella is competing, but I can't really say why. I can't say who the romance is between because that will ruin a lot of things. So just know that I had a better time with this book. It was really, really fun. I was continuing to love my journey into this Caraval world. Like, I just really had fun with this. That's all I can say. I feel like I keep saying that, but it was super fun. And that's all I'm going to say because everything else is essentially a spoiler. Then we're going to move on to my 5-star reads. And I tried to put these in order, but like, they're really only in order when you get up to like the last 3. So I'm just going to go in order of what I see on here, basically. And the next 5-star, or the first 5-star I had was What's Left of Me by Hannah Bird. This is the sequel in the Loveless duology. The first one was The End and Then. I definitely recommend reading these. She writes about things that have happened to her in her real life or like a friend. And they're really, really like deep books. Like, they can be a little bit triggering. Like, this one involves physical abuse, so if you can't handle that, then please do not take it. But this one basically is following one of the other characters and her romance story, and her having to navigate like past relationships that might not have been the best for her and trying to like get into the one that she is currently. And it was a beautiful story, heart-wrenching as always. I always love these books. I'm so glad that I've gotten to have arcs for both of these. I cannot wait for her new book that has to do with, I believe, infertility that comes out in February. I'm very excited for that. Hope I get an arc for that as well. But she is an up-and-coming author, so please go support her. She is fabulous. Then we have another book that Brittany recommended for me on my TBR, and that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I had the best time with this book. It was a dark academia book. It's very Shakespeare theater kitty in the sense that it doesn't do chapters or parts, sections. It's acts and scenes, and it was just the best thing ever, being a theater girly myself, theater club president in high school, if I might add. It was so much fun. I will say, the Shakespeare, like, content is very, very heavy. Like, there are pages where it is just full-on Shakespeare script. So, like, if you're not for that, then this book is not going to be for you. But I absolutely loved it. It's basically a group of friends in college. One of them ends up dead, and it's just them figuring out, it's just them 10 years later, the person that is in jail, that went to jail for the crime, saying what actually happened, and this is the story of what happened and how it came to be. And I had so much fun with it, and I wasn't expecting all the twists and turns. It was also very sad at the end. Oh, I really loved it. I love dark academia novels, and this one was a grade A quality one. I highly recommend it. And we have one of the only thrillers that I read this month, and that was The Perfect Ruin by Shanora Williams. And I read this based off of Haley Hughes' recommendations, and I'm so glad that I did. It is a rich people domestic drama that I literally binge read in like a day. I could not put it down. It was so much fun. It's not one of those extremely twisty, shocky turn ones, but like, I still wasn't expecting it, especially when this new perspective kicked in, and I was like, why is this perspective happening? And then you find out why, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is genius. I am here for all the rich people drama. So it's about a girl that something happened to her when she was young. She finds out later on through therapy, like, who did this to her, and she wants revenge. And it's the bitch I'ma steal your life type of book. And it was just so fun, like easily bingeable. I just ate it up. And I didn't know that Shanora Williams writes romance, and now she's in her thriller era, and this was a fabulous book. Like, this is going to be one of my top thrillers. I had so much fun with it. If you're here for that rich drama, revenge-filled type book, please pick it up. It is the perfect summer beachy read. Now we're getting to my top 3, which these are in order. And the next one would be my next 5-star would be A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley. I had never read anything by her before, but I saw a lot of people were picking this up for Once Upon a Readathon, and I did too. It is a dark Little Mermaid retelling. Basically, what would happen if Ariel did the same thing and she, you know, decided she wanted to be human, to be with Eric, and you find out that Prince Eric is extremely abusive towards her. She's realizing that this was a terrible mistake. And 10 years later, she decides that she wants to get out of this, and as they are at sea, they get captured by this terrible, notorious pirate hunter who's actually, like, not fully human, and it's the story of, like, what happens if she falls in love with Captain Ramsey. It was so good. So steamy. The banter was fabulous. The atmosphere and the writing was just wonderful. Like, I had so much fun with this retelling. It was just a fabulous time. I read this so quickly. Like I said, it's extremely steamy. Like, really, really good. There are trigger warnings, so please check this as well. But I had so much fun with this, and I cannot wait to read more from Karina Halley. But I'm just really, really glad I read this. The Little Mermaid is one of my favorite, like, Disney movies, especially the new one. Oh my gosh, if you have not seen the live action one, you need to go see it ASAP. It is fabulous. I had the best time with this. I am so glad that I read this month. The next 5-star we have is Flawless by Miss Elsie Silver, which I'm so glad that I picked up this Mirrors cover. I have the Hot Guy cover as well, but I'm just going to pull this one up because it's literally right here. These are going out of print, by the way. If you haven't picked them up yet, you should go look because they're still on Amazon right now, even though they were supposed to be gone yesterday. And this one follows Rhett and Summer, and Rhett is like this bull rider who basically says something shitty in front of one of his people that like supports him for ads and is about to get kicked off of like all of his advertising. And so Summer has to be sent in to basically like help him like restore his image up and leading to the events before this giant bull rider competition that he's supposed to like win. And so it's their romance. And I know a lot of people say that Flawless is not their favorite book, and I haven't read the rest of the books in the series, but this was a 5-star, friends. Like, I had so much fun with this. It was cute. It was steamy. I loved their relationship. I just loved this entire book. I loved all of the other characters as well, and so I can't wait to, like, continue to dive into the world of Chestnut Springs and meet all of the other characters. Like, I am hooked, and I'm just so glad that I finally read this. Like, I literally had this on my TBR for like months now, and I was like, why are you not reading it? You need to pick it up. I'm about to start Heartless. I know it's going to be a fabulous time. And so if you haven't gotten to Elsie Silver's Chestnut Springs series yet, please do it right now. And then let's get to the creme de la creme, the #1 book, the reason we're all here, and that is Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. I loved this book. I read it for Once Upon a Readathon because I read a lot of books. I was supposed to read more mermaid books than, you know, but I ended up reading a lot of pirate books. Whatever, sue me. I wanted to read this. So this is about our girl named Bennett Sharp, and she is the daughter of this very notorious pirate and this regal woman that basically they couldn't be together because she was not allowed to like be with a pirate. And so something happens and she ends up having to run away from her life and getting onto this pirate ship, and she's trying to find her father's treasure. But she also was married during this time to another evil pirate king, and so she's trying to escape him, and in the midst of trying to escape from him, because of something that happened between them, she ends up getting caught by this pirate hunter, Lord Ashley Cutler. And so she's trying to get her pirate husband to find her so that she can escape, but she's also trying to not get taken back to shore so that she gets hung for being a pirate captain. And it is a love story. There's also a little bit of a love triangle in here, and it gets interesting and steamy, and this book went places I was not expecting it, and it was so good. I just wish I could read this again. And my wonderful subscriber Jean got me this, and I'm so glad that she did, because I'm going to reread this again very soon and annotate it. I wanted it so that I could annotate it, so I'm very excited that I'm going to get the chance to do that. If you haven't read from Pan Godwin, please do so. I cannot wait to continue reading her backlist, because she truly, I will read anything that she writes. And so those are all of the books that I read in June. Let me know down below what was your favorite read, if any of these that you also read and loved, if there's a new book that I need to put on my radar, let a girl know. I'm always about it. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!